Thanks for joining me again. I want to thank all the staff and volunteers at the Montgomery County Board of Elections, as well as everyone who came out to vote, even in the much needed rain. This election was organized and safe with no major issues arising on Tuesday. Any ballot postmarked by Election Day will be counted, although it can take several days for local election offices to receive the mailed ballots. The state has 10 days to finalize its count, but because the 4th of July holiday will actually be observed on July 3rd this year, that deadline will be extended to the next workday, which is Monday, July 6th. So it's possible in close races where the margin is not very large that you may not be getting a final result until July 6th. You can follow the Board of Elections work at 777vote.org. I'm deeply appreciative of all those who supported me for the at-large council seat. The trusted voters have placed in my ability to serve our county government is something I take seriously and I've never taken for granted. I want to extend my congratulations to all those at the state and county level of government who secured their nominations for the general election. What stands out about our nominees is how they represent our county's unique diversity across race, gender, religion, and sexual orientation. The candidates look a lot like our county. I'm concerned about the tactics employed by certain dark money PACs and their misinformation campaign. I have more than a little experience with their tactics and their money in the past. It appears that once again the developers have failed to buy the county government, but it's not for lack of trying or spending millions of dollars. It was also distressing to see a fake sample ballot claiming to represent Montgomery Democrats when no such organization or PAC exists, and it was created to resemble something that could have come from the Democratic Party. That should not have happened, and it shouldn't happen again. It was really disappointing. I do want to congratulate our congressional delegation nominees, and specifically April McLean Delaney, whose race saw more than $30 million in spending, becoming the most expensive House races, one of the most expensive House races in U.S. history. That's an obscene amount of money. The congressional races this fall will be impactful to this county, though. As a jurisdiction, like many others like us around this nation, our people and our values are clearly being targeted by the Trump administration. And the current Republican Congress has been feckless in providing any kind of checks on his autocratic impulses. If you missed the primary election this week, please remember that the general election is Tuesday, November 3rd. Coretta Scott King said it best: it doesn't matter how strong your opinions are, if you don't use your power for positive change, you are indeed part of the problem. Please remember to vote in the general. I want to give residents a heads up. Starting next Wednesday on July 1st, a batch of new state laws and budget measures kick in. On the consumer side, EV charging stations now charge by the kilowatt hour rather than by the minute. That's just basic fairness. You should pay for what you actually use. There's a new Utility Relief Act that moves the Electric Universal Service Program to the Office of Home Energy Programs to help people in need of assistance. And it updates how residential solar gets permitted and installed. It should speed things up and make it simpler. The state of Maryland will also expect home EV charging stations to be registered so regulators can check them on a consistent basis. The state is also banning the retail sale of certain unregulated substances often found over the counter at convenience stores. They include kratom, tianeptine, and phenibut, products that have been sold with very little oversight to anyone who has to use them. On public safety, counties with volunteer fire companies like ours now have to provide free preventative cancer screenings for active and retired volunteer firefighters. Firefighters take on enormous health risks for the rest of us, and frankly, this kind of protection for their health is overdue. There's also a new rule explicitly prohibiting school resource officers from having any sexual activity with students at their assigned schools. That should go without saying, but now it's law. I cannot believe that a law was required to prohibit this behavior, and it's a sad commentary on the state of society that it wasn't already prohibited. On the labor side, the threshold for wage and hour claims handled by the state's Division of Labor and Standards went up from $7,500 to $13,000, which can mean more workers can get help through that process. And the state is launching a task force to look at how counties and municipalities generate revenue, something that we desperately need and something that could ultimately affect how we fund services here in Montgomery County. I have talked a lot to people about the difference between our tax structure and the tax structure in the district, and Virginia, and hopefully this is an opportunity to look at what these jurisdictions are doing. I know that raising taxes is always something difficult for residents, but other jurisdictions have found ways to raise revenues without hammering taxpayers, particularly residential taxpayers. And we can learn a lot from our neighbors, and it's about time we did that. A few budget and infrastructure pieces also take effect. The legislation tied to the state budget that modifies aid and statutory provisions, some tax changes around business depreciation, and new measures to streamline grants for bus rapid transit, moving toward multi-year agreements between counties and the state. And specifically here in Montgomery County, we're moving forward with a pilot program for stop sign monitoring systems in school zones in Gaithersburg and Rockville. And we're launching a comprehensive study of housing affordability. You can find a full list of new Maryland laws on the Maryland General Assembly's website, mgaleg.maryland.gov. I'd like to shine a spotlight now on our Office of Procurement, a department that often goes unnoticed. A big change is about to take effect. Procurement handles the purchasing of goods, services, and construction projects for the county departments, managing a portfolio that surpasses $5 billion. They work to ensure taxpayer money is used transparently and to support fair business practices as well as legal compliance. Since my first day in office, I've been very clear about this. The good old boys network is done in Montgomery County. For too long, government contracting felt like a closed boy loop. We have worked tirelessly to build a procurement system that is easier to navigate, transparent, and most importantly, trustworthy for everyone. I remember even in the run-up to that first election, meeting with people in the business community who said they didn't even bother to compete for county contracts because you knew before you competed who was going to win the contract. That's not true today, and that's a big improvement, and I'm glad we were able to take these steps forward. And I really want to thank Ash Shetty, Director of Procurement, for leading in the changes we needed to make. Our focus has been on ensuring that local businesses have a fair opportunity to compete, and the results of this focus are historic. Last fiscal year, we spent a record-breaking $274 million through our MFD program, which stands for Minority, Female, and Disabled-Owned Companies. Every third contract awarded went to someone who had never done business with the county before. We are continuing to innovate and remove barriers. And I'm proud to announce that starting Wednesday, July 1st, we're expanding opportunities specifically for our women-owned and veteran-owned businesses. We will now recognize Federal Small Business Administration certificates for women and Maryland State certification for veterans. By leveraging these established standards, we are reducing the administrative burden on our entrepreneurs, allowing them to use certifications that they've already earned to get the foot in the door here in Montgomery County. This progress is only possible because of the work being done by our procurement department. They have been recognized nationally for their commitment to transparency and efficiency, and their constant experimentation is what allows us to keep hitting these record highs in minority spending. And you can learn more by visiting montgomerycountymd.gov/PRO. On Thursday, I was proud to be there for the celebration of a commemorative plaque at the Talbot Avenue Bridge in honor of Dr. Charlotte Caulfield. This is an important addition for the Lyttonsville community, but her story is one every resident of this county should know. Dr. Caulfield was a lifelong Lyttonsville resident. She lived through segregation firsthand, restricted access to public places, exclusionary housing practices, all of it. And she used that experience to spend her entire life advocating for preservation of Black history in Montgomery County. She used to call the old Talbot Avenue Bridge our lifeline to civilization. That was the bridge that connected Lyttonsville's Black residents to the jobs and services and transportation in Silver Spring and DC for most of the 20th century. It represented both the limitations of Lyttonsville faced under segregation, and it's a marker of the resilience shown by the community for generations. The original bridge came down in 2019. Its historic span is being preserved and will eventually be displayed along the Capitol Crescent Trail. The new bridge opened in 2024 as part of the Purple Line project, two-way traffic, ADA accessibility, and it is much safer than the old bridge. It helps an entirely different community than the one Dr. Caulfield grew up in. And that difference exists in part because of people like her. Dr. Caulfield was a national leader in interpreter training for the deaf and hard of hearing community. She was the first sign language interpreter at the U.S. Department of Health, Education, and Welfare. and she led the Lyttonsville Community Civic Organization on historic preservation and transportation issues for decades. In 2019, she received the county's Roscoe R. Nix Distinguished Community Leadership Award for that work. I got to work with Charlotte for a couple of decades. She was one of the most decent people I knew, compassionate, caring, and determined to see justice done for her community. She was a fighter, and I counted her as a friend. We lost Dr. Caulfield in 2024. She was 91 years old. The original bridge span will tell part of her community's history. This plaque is about making sure her name and her work to improve the community are remembered alongside it. I want to thank Myra Caulfield and her family, along with the Lyttonsville community, for keeping her legacy alive. So the 4th of July is coming up. This might be the last update you see before you start your 4th of July break. I want to wish you a happy holiday and emphasize a few things about that holiday. According to the National Highways Traffic Safety Administration, nearly 40% of U.S. traffic fatalities happen during the Independence Day holiday period, and they involve impaired drivers. We are part of the Washington Regional Alcohol Program, or WRAP, which has announced that free Lyft rides will be available in Montgomery County and across the Washington region during Independence Day celebrations as part of its annual Sober Ride program. The service begins at 4 p.m. on Saturday, July 4th, and runs through 4 a.m. on Sunday, July 5th. Lyft will provide rides valued up to $15 for adults 21 and older who have been drinking. To participate, riders must download the Lyft app and enter the Sober Ride promotional code under the Add Lyft Pass option in the app's payment page. The code will be posted on 3 p.m. on July 4th at the SoberRide.com website. Keep reading this newsletter to learn about how the holiday will impact county services and how to enjoy community celebrations like Montgomery County's 250th Shine Together celebration on Friday, July 3rd at Albert Einstein High School. One of my very favorite bands, the Nighthawks, one of the incredibly great blues bands of my lifetime, will be performing. Things get started at 7 p.m. and then Saturday, July 4th, Up County will have its own celebration in Germantown Glory. That will be at the Big Park in Boyd's. As we mark Montgomery County's 250th anniversary, I encourage residents to take a moment to learn our history, appreciate our progress, and celebrate together. That's a wrap for today. I hope you have a great week, and I'll be back again next week.